what can they do starting today if they're in a situation where they're just in the worst economic situation? What would just the practicalities of just starting to move forward from their situation so they can just feel a little bit better tomorrow?
Yes, of course. This is a great question. I find with my clients, and again, some of my clients, when they come to me, they have sometimes $100,000 of debt between student loans and credit card debt. So I find that actually getting real on what your numbers are can take a lot of the stress off, because a lot of the anxiety around finances come from not knowing. It's that not having a clear sense of how much I owe, what the monthly payments are, the interest rates, what my expenses are. It just feels like money's coming in and going out, and you owe this huge sum of money sometimes, right? And it feels like it's a black box to people. So when you can lift that cover off and look at all of your numbers, that's when a lot of people are like, okay, I see the numbers, this is my situation. And they almost start to accept it, right? It's like, okay, it's here in this spreadsheet or whatever you're using. All the numbers are here, and now I can make a path forward. Whereas before, it all felt like it was in this black box, and it's really hard to make a plan and also come to terms with it just mentally, emotionally, the debt or whatever it is that you're going through if you don't have all of the information in front of you. So I would say the first step would be to pick a method for how you want to go about that in terms of like getting the numbers out there. I personally like to use a spreadsheet because I use Google Sheets because I think it forces people to manually go in and look up their numbers, right? Like log into all of your debtor, creditor accounts and put the numbers in there. Same with like an expense tracker. So get real on like, okay, what are my average monthly expenses? And going through each category, and maybe for the last 3 months, looking at for each of the subcategories of expenses, what's my average spend for each of these? And like physically putting that into the spreadsheet, I find can be really useful. And then you can have a second tab for debt where, let's say, I like to recommend ordering your different debts in order of highest interest rate first, like right at the top. Have a different line item for each debt, each student loan, each amount that you owe for different credit cards, and arrange that in order of the highest interest rate first, because that's where I would start, right? Because interest rates can either help you with investing, for example, or they can hurt you. For example, when you owe money on a credit card. So I would start with those two things in terms of getting your numbers out, looking at everything. I'm sure a lot of us need to figure out what our logins are for these different accounts, right? But once you have that, then you can look at the numbers and be a little bit more objective about it instead of getting stuck in the emotional aspect of it, right? And feeling that deep overwhelm.